The agricultural colony of New Harvest was humanity's third attempt at establishing a farming world beyond the Sol system. Located in the Kepler belt, it attracted two types of people, those running from something and those too stubborn to quit when any sane person would. I was definitely the second type. My name is Jake Morrison, former agronomist from Iowa, current owner of 40 acres of alien soil that refused to cooperate with Earth crops no matter how much I sweet-talked it. I'd been on New Harvest for 3 years, slowly going broke while trying to prove that human farming techniques could work on alien worlds. I was also the only human within 200 miles, which meant my neighbors were all aliens from the Galactic Agricultural Cooperative, various species who'd come to this frontier world to escape overcrowding on their homeworlds. My closest neighbor was the Lara. The Lara was Vornathi, a species that stood between 8 and 10 feet tall, with gray-blue skin, 4 arms, and a build that suggested their ancestors had been weightlifters. The Vornathi were known throughout the galaxy as master farmers, capable of coaxing crops from the most stubborn soil through a combination of biological understanding and sheer determination. They were also known for being painfully direct communicators, which is why I shouldn't have been surprised when the Lara showed up at my farm one morning and got straight to the point. "Jake Morrison," she said in her deep, resonant voice. "I need a husband. I am offering you the position." I dropped the irrigation valve I'd been repairing. "I'm sorry, what?" "A husband, life partner, mate. The human terms have slight variations, but the concept is universal." She stood in my field, her 4 arms crossed in what I'd learned was a Vornathi gesture of seriousness. "I am asking if you will marry me." I stared at her, my brain completely failing to process what was happening. "The Lara, we've been neighbors for 3 years. We've talked maybe 20 times. Why would you?" "Let me explain the situation." She moved closer, and I was reminded that she was nearly 3 feet taller than me and probably could bench press my entire tractor. "I am widowed. My first husband, Koreth, died 2 years ago in a harvesting accident. Under Vornathi tradition, I have a grace period to mourn and reorganize my life. That period ends in 30 days. "Okay, I'm sorry for your loss, but I don't see. The problem is my farm. Vornathi agricultural law is very specific. A farm of my size requires a bonded pair to maintain ownership. If I am not married when the grace period ends, the land will be redistributed to younger families. I will lose everything my husband and I built." She gestured toward her property, which bordered mine. 200 acres of beautifully maintained fields, growing crops I didn't recognize, but that looked healthy and profitable. The opposite of my struggling 40 acres. "I have attempted to find a suitable Vornathi husband. There are 3 eligible males within reasonable distance. One is interested only in my land. One is already secretly bonded to someone else and would be claiming my farm fraudulently. The third," she paused, "is my first husband's brother, and that union is complicated by family politics I do not wish to engage with. That's rough, but I'm still not seeing where I come in. Vornathi law states that a bonded pair must maintain the farm. It does not specify that both parties must be Vornathi." Her 4 eyes focused on me with unsettling intensity. "You are unmarried. You are a farmer, though not a successful one currently. You are my neighbor and have been respectful in all our interactions. and you are legally recognized as a sapient being capable of entering contracts under galactic cooperative regulations. You want to marry me to keep your farm? Yes, it would be a practical arrangement. In exchange for the legal status of being my bonded partner, you would gain access to Vornathi agricultural techniques, shared resources, and, she looked at my struggling fields, the expertise necessary to make your own farm profitable. I should have said no immediately. This was insane. We were different species. We'd barely talked. She was 3 feet taller than me and had 4 arms, and we probably weren't even biologically compatible in any way that mattered for marriage. But she was offering to teach me how to actually farm on this alien world. And my bank account had exactly 300 credits left before I'd have to admit defeat and go back to Earth with my tail between my legs. This would be purely business, I asked carefully. Like a legal partnership? Initially, yes. Vornathi marriages are complex, but they can begin as practical arrangements and develop into deeper bonds over time. Or they can remain professional partnerships if both parties prefer. She tilted her head, a gesture I'd learned meant she was being genuine. I am not asking you to love me, Jake Morrison. I am asking you to help me keep my land, and in return, I will help you keep yours. What would this actually involve? Like day to day? We would maintain separate residences initially, though Vornathi law requires we share meals together at least 4 times per week to demonstrate genuine partnership. We would coordinate farming efforts, share resources and knowledge, and present ourselves as a bonded unit in all legal and social contexts. And if it doesn't work out, Vornathi marriages can be dissolved through mutual agreement after a minimum bonding period of 2 years. If we find we are incompatible, we would separate and I would need to find another solution. But by then, I would have time to establish the farm more securely. She extended one of her 4 hands. I understand this is unusual, but I am practical above all else. You are the best option available to me, and I believe I am a good option for you. Will you consider my offer? I looked at her hand, larger than mine, gray-blue, with 3 fingers and an opposable thumb. Then I looked at my dying crops, my failing farm, my last desperate attempt to prove I could make it out here. I need 24 hours to think about it, I said. That is reasonable. She withdrew her hand. I will return tomorrow at this time for your answer. I spent that night doing what any sensible person would do, research. Vornathi marriage customs were surprisingly well documented in the galactic cooperative databases. The species took farming and family seriously, and marriage was viewed as primarily an agricultural partnership. Romance and physical intimacy were considered bonuses, not requirements. Marriages could be arranged for practical purposes, dissolved by mutual agreement, and didn't carry the same social stigma if they ended that human marriages sometimes did. It was treated more like a business merger than a romantic union. I also discovered that Vornathi were known for taking care of their bonded partners. Married couples shared resources equally, and it was considered shameful to let your partner fail through lack of support. So if I agreed to this, the Lara would be legally obligated to help me succeed. And from what I'd seen of her farm, she knew what she was doing. The sticking point was, could I actually marry an alien for practical reasons and not feel like I was somehow cheating at life? My comm unit buzzed. Video call from my sister back on Earth. Hey Jake, how's the farming going? I looked at my struggling fields visible through the window. It's Going. How are things there? Good. I actually called because Mom's been asking when you're coming home for a visit. It's been 3 years. Can't afford the trip right now. Farm expenses. She gave me that look, the one that said she knew I was failing but was too polite to say it directly. Jake, you know you can come home, right? If this doesn't work out, Dad's friend still has that position open at the Agricultural Research Center. I'm not giving up, I said more sharply than intended. I'm making this work. After we hung up, I sat in the darkness of my small prefab house and thought about going home defeated, about proving all the people who said I was crazy to come out here right. Then I thought about the Lara's offer. Weird, absolutely, unconventional, definitely, but a chance to actually succeed, maybe. When the Lara returned the next morning, I had my answer. I'll do it, but I have conditions. Her mandibles clicked in what I'd learned was satisfaction. I would expect nothing less. State your terms. 1, we're honest with each other. If this isn't working, we say so. 2, I maintain ownership of my own land. This is a partnership, not me becoming your employee. 3, we establish clear boundaries about personal space and privacy. And 4, if this somehow becomes something more than a business arrangement, we talk about it before acting on it. Agreed to all terms. My conditions: 1, you take farming seriously and apply yourself to learning Vornathi techniques. 2, you represent our partnership with respect in public. 3, you share meals with me as required by law and use that time to genuinely communicate. 4, you do not embarrass me in front of the Agricultural Cooperative Council. Deal. We shook on it, her large hand completely engulfing mine. The bonding ceremony can be held in 10 days, the Lara said. That gives us time to file the legal documents and prepare the traditional requirements. What are the traditional requirements? Each partner must present the other with a tool that represents their commitment to the partnership. I will present you with Vornathi farming implements. You should present me with something from human agricultural tradition. I can do that. Anything else I should know? The ceremony will be witnessed by the Agricultural Cooperative Council and any friends or family we wish to invite. There will be a feast afterward, and we must exchange the traditional bonding vows. Which are? She recited in Vornathi first, then translated. I pledge to share the soil with you, to tend the crops together, to weather the seasons as one, and to build prosperity through our combined efforts. Until the land reclaims us or we choose to part, I am bonded to you. That's actually kind of beautiful, I admitted. Vornathi are practical, but we appreciate the poetry of agriculture. She smiled, an expression I'd never seen from her before, showing rows of flat, grinding teeth. I believe this arrangement will benefit us both, Jake Morrison, even if it is unusual. The bonding ceremony was held in the Agricultural Cooperative's Community Center, a large dome structure that could accommodate the various species in our colony. I wore the best clothes I had, a suit I'd brought from Earth and had only worn twice. The Lara wore traditional Vornathi bonding robes, which made her look even more imposing and somehow regal. The Cooperative Council consisted of 7 members from different species, all of them farmers who took this stuff very seriously. They regarded our unusual union with expressions ranging from curious to skeptical. This is an uncommon arrangement, the council leader, a crystalline being named Shard, observed. A Vornathi bonding with a human. Are you certain this partnership will honor the traditions? I am certain, the Lara said firmly. Jake Morrison has proven himself to be dedicated to agriculture, respectful of our community, and willing to learn. These are the qualities that matter in a bonded partner. And you, human, do you enter this bonding freely and with understanding of the obligations involved? I do, I said, surprising myself with how steady my voice was. I'm here to be a good partner and a good farmer, in that order. Shard's crystalline surface refracted light in what I'd learned was approval. Then let us proceed with the ceremony. We exchanged tools as tradition required. The Lara presented me with a Vornathi soil analyzer, a beautiful piece of bioengineered technology that would let me understand the exact composition of my fields. I presented her with my grandfather's antique hoe, restored and polished, representing 4 generations of Morrison family farming. This is human history, I explained. My family's commitment to agriculture. I'm trusting you with it. She took the hoe with surprising reverence, examining the worn wood and metal. I will honor this gift and the tradition it represents. We recited the bonding vows, first in Vornathi, then in English so the human traditions were acknowledged. When we finished, Shard declared us bonded under agricultural cooperative law. And just like that, I was married to a 9-foot-tall alien farmer I'd known for 3 years but barely talked to. The feast afterward was actually enjoyable. Vornathi food was surprisingly good, hearty, grain-based dishes that reminded me of Earth comfort food. The other colony members congratulated us, some more enthusiastically than others. An elderly Vornathi male approached, introducing himself as the Lara's uncle. "You have done well, niece," he said. "The human is unconventional, but he has kind eyes. That matters more than height or number of arms." "Thank you, uncle. I believe we will make this work." After he left, I leaned toward the Lara. "He said I have kind eyes. Vornathi place great value on eyes. They indicate character." She looked down at me. "You do have kind eyes, Jake Morrison. It is one reason I chose you. I thought you chose me because I was the only unmarried farmer nearby. That was the practical reason. But I also chose you because in 3 years as neighbors, you never once complained about my crops blocking sunlight to your fields, even though they did. You never blamed your failures on my success. You worked hard and stayed respectful." She smiled slightly. "Those are good qualities in a partner." The first month of our bonded partnership was awkward. We maintained separate homes but shared meals 4 times a week as required. Initially, these dinners were stilted affairs where we made small talk and avoided anything too personal. But the Lara kept her word about teaching me Vornathi farming techniques. She showed me how to read soil composition using the analyzer she'd given me, how to adjust pH levels using specific crops as natural balancers, how to work with the planet's biology instead of fighting against it. "Earth crops fail here because you treat the soil like it's Earth soil," she explained one evening as we walked my fields together. "But this planet has different minerals, different microorganisms, different seasonal patterns. You must adapt your crops to the world, not force the world to accept your crops. So I've been doing everything wrong. You've been doing everything human. There's a difference." She knelt, her forearms working the soil, testing its texture. "Humans are stubborn. You try to remake every world into Earth, but successful farming requires flexibility." Over the next few weeks, we redesigned my entire operation. She provided seeds for hybrid crops that could thrive in new harvest soil. We reworked my irrigation system using Vornathi principles. We introduced beneficial insects from her farm to mine, and slowly, impossibly, my crops began to improve. During our shared meals, we talked more. I learned about her life before coming to New Harvest, about her first husband, Koreth, and their dreams of building a prosperous farm, about the accident that killed him and the grief she still carried. "I loved him," she said one evening, her voice quiet. "This marriage with you is different." But that doesn't diminish what I had before. I understand, and I'm not trying to replace him. I know that is another reason this works. You have appropriate boundaries. She looked at me curiously. "Have you ever been married before?" "No, came close once. She didn't want to leave Earth, and I couldn't stay. We wanted different lives." "Do you regret that choice?" "Sometimes, but I couldn't give up on this dream of farming new worlds, even when I'm failing at it." I smiled ruefully. "Which I was until you intervened." "You were not failing, you were learning slowly. There is a difference." Our friendship grew gradually, built on shared work and mutual respect. I learned to read her body language, the slight tilt of her head when she was amused, the way her forearms moved independently when she was excited about a farming breakthrough, the clicking of her mandibles when she was pleased. She learned my habits, too. Started having coffee ready during our morning planning sessions because she'd noticed I was useless without it. Adjusted her explanations to account for my human limitations in understanding alien biology. 3 months into our marriage, her uncle visited again. "The partnership appears genuine," he observed, watching us work together in the fields. "You move as a bonded pair should." After he left, I asked the Lara what he meant. "Bonded Vornathi develop a rhythm. The way you anticipate each other's needs, coordinate without speaking, understand each other's methods. We are developing that." "Is that normal for an arrangement marriage?" "It is normal for any partnership where both parties commit genuinely to making it work." She paused in her work. "Jake, I must tell you something. This marriage was initially practical for me, but it has become more than that." My heart rate picked up. "What do you mean?" "I mean you have become important to me. Not just as a farming partner, but as a companion. Someone I look forward to seeing. Someone whose success matters to me beyond legal obligations." She looked directly at me. "I do not know if humans feel bonding this way, but Vornathi do, and I am bonding with you." I thought about the past 3 months, about looking forward to our shared meals, about the pride I felt when she praised my improving crops, about how natural it felt to work beside her despite the massive differences in our size and species. "I think I'm bonding with you too," I admitted. "This wasn't supposed to be real, but it's starting to feel real." "What do you want it to be?" "I don't know. What are the options?" She clicked her mandibles in what I now recognized as amusement. "For Vornathi, we could remain as we are, friendly partners. We could deepen the bond into something resembling human romance, though our physical differences make certain aspects complicated. Or we could simply let it develop naturally and see where it leads." I like that last option. As do I. Farming teaches patience. Perhaps we apply that to this as well. 6 months into our bonded partnership, my crops were thriving. What had been 40 acres of struggling earth plants was now a diverse operation growing hybrid crops that actually belonged on New Harvest. My bank account was finally growing instead of shrinking. More importantly, my partnership with the Lara had become the most important relationship in my life. We still maintained separate homes, but we spent most of our time together, working the fields, sharing meals, sitting on her porch in the evenings talking about everything and nothing. I learned that she loved music, Vornathi compositions that sounded like wind through grain fields. She learned that I told terrible jokes when I was nervous. We learned to be comfortable with silence when words weren't needed. One evening, sitting on that porch watching the sunset turn New Harvest sky purple and gold, she said something that changed everything. "Jake Morrison, I need to tell you something. That sounds ominous. It is not ominous. It is merely significant." She turned to face me with all four eyes. "When I asked you to marry me, it was to save my farm. That was true, but it was not the entire truth." "What was the entire truth?" "I had noticed you before Koreth died. You were the human who worked impossible hours trying to force crops to grow through sheer determination, who never gave up even when clearly failing, who waved to me across our property line and asked how I was doing in careful, practiced Vornathi." She stood, moving to the porch railing. "After Koreth died, I watched you more, saw your loneliness that matched mine, saw your dedication to your dream, and I thought, perhaps there could be a practical solution that might become something more. You planned this. I recognized an opportunity. You needed help. I needed a husband, but I chose you specifically because I believed you might be someone I could genuinely bond with, not just legally, but truly." I joined her at the railing. "And now I know I was correct. You are someone I could genuinely bond with, someone I am bonding with." She looked down at me. "But I need to know if you feel the same, if this is becoming real for you as well, or if I am alone in these feelings." I thought about the past 6 months, about how she'd become the first person I thought of when I woke up and the last person I thought of before sleeping. About how her success made me happy and her rare sadness made me want to fix whatever was wrong. About how I'd stopped thinking of her as an alien and started thinking of her as just the Lara, the person who made my life better by being in it. "It's real for me," I said. "I don't know what that means exactly, given that we're different species and this is all kinds of weird, but it's real." Then we should discuss the next step in Vornathi bonding, which is choosing to share a residence, to fully merge our lives, not just our farms, to acknowledge that this is more than legal partnership. She extended one of her hands. "I am asking if you want that, not because the law requires it, but because we choose it." I took her hand, familiar now, no longer alien, just the Lara's. "Yeah," I said, "I want that. Your house or mine," I laughed. "Yours is bigger and has better furniture, and that porch. Practical considerations, very Vornathi of you." She squeezed my hand gently. "You are learning our ways, Jake Morrison. Or you're learning mine. We're meeting in the middle. That is what bonded pairs do." 2 years after the Lyra showed up in my field and proposed a marriage of convenience, we stood together at the Agricultural Cooperative's annual Harvest Festival. Our combined farm had won awards for innovation, productivity, and successful interspecies agricultural cooperation. What had been 40 struggling acres and 200 acres of traditional Vornathi crops was now 240 acres of the most productive hybrid farming operation in the colony. But more than that, we'd become proof that unusual partnerships could work. The colony had 3 more interspecies marriages now, all of them inspired by our success. The cooperative had relaxed their rules about bonded pairs requiring same-species partners. And I'd fallen completely in love with my giant alien farmer wife. The Lara stood beside me, still 3 feet taller, still with 4 arms and gray-blue skin, still fundamentally different from me in so many ways. but also my best friend, my business partner, and the person who'd saved my dream when I was about to lose it. "Are you happy, Jake Morrison?" she asked quietly. "Incredibly. Are you?" More than I imagined possible when I made that practical offer 2 years ago. She looked down at me with all four eyes full of warmth. "You know what I have learned?" "What's that?" "Sometimes the most practical choice is also the most romantic one. I married you to save my farm, but I stayed married to you because you saved me." I squeezed her hand. "Pretty sure it was mutual saving." "Even better." Around us, the harvest festival continued, dozens of species celebrating another successful growing season. Music played, food was shared, and the community we'd helped build thrived. I thought about the desperate man who'd almost given up and gone back to Earth, about the widow who'd needed a husband and made an unconventional choice, about how sometimes the best things in life come from the strangest proposals. "Hey, the Lara," I said. "Yes. Thanks for needing a husband and for choosing me." She clicked her mandibles in amusement. "Thank you for being desperate and practical enough to say yes. We make an excellent team. The best. Do you ever regret it?" That this started as a business arrangement. I thought about it honestly. No, because it taught me something important, that love doesn't have to start with romance and fireworks. Sometimes it starts with "I need help and I can provide that." Everything else just grows from there. Very wise, you have learned much from Vornathi philosophy. Or maybe you've learned from human stubbornness. We don't give up on things that matter. Another point of agreement. We are bonded in stubbornness as well as law. She was right. We were bonded in every way that mattered, legally, practically, emotionally, and through the daily choice to build a life together despite every reason it shouldn't work. The giant alien widow had needed a husband. The desperate human farmer had needed a miracle. We'd found both in each other. And that, I thought, as the Lara pulled me into a four-armed embrace that still felt wonderfully strange and perfectly right, was exactly how the best love stories should begin. Not with "I love you," but with "I need a husband." Everything else was just farming, and we were both very good at making things grow.